The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with an air of calculated indifference. Representatives from dozens of alien species gathered beneath the crystalline dome of Zorath 7, a planet renowned for its shimmering cities and unwavering neutrality. Holographic displays flickered above the circular table, showcasing star maps, trade routes, and resource distribution charts. To most in attendance, Earth was little more than a footnote, a pale blue dot nestled among billions of stars in the Milky Way galaxy. Few even bothered to glance at the tiny orb on one of the screens. Cale Vorn, however, leaned forward with predatory interest. His angular features, sharp as the blades strapped to his hips, betrayed no hint of hesitation. As leader of the Marauder Syndicate, he had built a reputation as both a visionary and a gambler. Today, he intended to place his biggest bet yet. Earth, Cale said, his voice slicing through the hum of conversation like a blade. It's primitive, defenseless, and ripe for the taking. The room fell silent. Dozens of eyes, some round, some slit-like, others glowing faintly, turned toward him. Among them sat Lirith, an ambassador from the aquatic Tethys collective, her gills flaring slightly as she processed his words. Beside her, Thalok, a hulking reptilian representative of the Drakkar Dominion, tilted his head, his forked tongue darting out briefly in what could only be interpreted as amusement. Primitive? Lirith echoed, her melodic voice laced with skepticism. You've seen their transmissions, haven't you? They're broadcasting signals into space, attempting communication. Hardly the act of primitives. They're children playing with fire, Cale shot back, his tone dripping with disdain. Their technology is laughable compared to ours. Their weapons are crude, their defenses non-existent. What they lack in sophistication they make up for in arrogance, and that will be their downfall. Thalok chuckled, a deep rumble that reverberated through the chamber. And what do you hope to gain from this venture? He asked, his golden eyes narrowing. Resources? Territory? Or simply glory? All of the above, Cale replied without missing a beat. He stood now, pacing before the hologram of Earth. Imagine it. Untapped resources, vast tracts of land waiting to be claimed, and a population naive enough to believe they can resist us. We strike quickly, decisively. By the time the rest of the galaxy notices, it'll already be done. There were murmurs of agreement and dissent, but Cale didn't need unanimity. The Marauder Syndicate operated outside the bounds of galactic law, answering to no one but itself. Still securing tacit approval, or at least non-interference, from key factions would smooth the path ahead. Meanwhile, on Earth, life carried on as usual. In the sprawling metropolis of New York City, Dr. Elena Morales pored over data streams in her lab at Columbia University. Her focus was singular, decoding anomalies detected by deep space telescopes. She wasn't alone. Researchers around the globe were picking up strange signals emanating from beyond the solar system. Most dismissed them as natural phenomena, but Elena couldn't shake the feeling that something, or someone, was trying to communicate. Across town, Sergeant Marcus Kane led a squad of soldiers through urban combat training exercises. A decorated veteran of multiple conflicts, Marcus prided himself on preparation. Whether facing insurgents or natural disasters, he believed there was no challenge humanity couldn't overcome. But nothing in his experience could have prepared him for what was coming. In a dimly lit basement apartment, 16-year-old hacker Zoe Chen sat hunched over her computer, fingers flying across the keyboard. Known online as Cypher, she specialized in breaching secure networks and exposing corruption. Her latest target was a multinational corporation suspected of illegal arms deals. Little did she know that her skills would soon prove invaluable on a much larger stage. As night fell over Earth, the first wave of the invasion began. Massive ships descended from orbit, their hulls gleaming ominously in the moonlight. Cities erupted into chaos as beams of energy rained down, obliterating infrastructure and scattering civilians. Panic spread like wildfire, but so did determination. Elena watched in horror as news reports flooded in. Abandoning her research, She grabbed a backpack filled with essential tools and fled her lab. Outside, the streets were eerily quiet, save for the distant hum of alien engines. She knew she had to find others who could help make sense of the situation. Marcus and his team mobilized immediately, rushing to protect civilians and establish defensive perimeters. Despite being outgunned and outnumbered, they adapted quickly. Using makeshift barricades and guerrilla tactics, they managed to hold off several waves of attackers. Each victory, no matter how small, bolstered morale. Zoe, meanwhile, discovered something extraordinary while monitoring internet traffic. Bursts of encrypted data were emanating not from Earth, but from the invaders' ships. With adrenaline coursing through her veins, she dove into the code, determined to crack it. Hours later, she succeeded, uncovering schematics for the aliens, weaponry and weak points in their armor. Word of these efforts spread rapidly. Elena reached out to Marcus via a ham radio network, offering her expertise in analyzing alien tech. Together, they devised plans to repurpose scavenged materials into effective countermeasures. Zoe joined forces with them remotely, providing real-time intelligence and disabling enemy systems whenever possible. Back aboard his flagship, Cale Vorn observed the unfolding resistance with growing unease. Reports poured in of human ingenuity thwarting his forces at every turn. Buildings rigged with explosives became death traps for advancing troops. Repurposed drones harassed his ships, forcing costly repairs. Even civilian populations refused to surrender, fighting tooth and nail to defend their homes. "This isn't supposed to happen," Cale muttered to himself, staring at a live feed of Earth's surface. Fires burned brightly against the darkness, illuminating scenes of devastation and defiance. For the first time, doubt crept into his mind. His second in command, a wiry alien named Jax, approached cautiously. "Sir, perhaps we underestimated them," he ventured, his voice tinged with apprehension. "They adapt faster than any species I've encountered." "Adaptation doesn't matter if they're dead," Cale snapped, though his confidence wavered. He clenched his fists, torn between doubling down on brute force and reassessing his strategy. Either way, retreat was not an option, not after staking his reputation on this conquest. News of Earth's plight traveled swiftly through interstellar channels. On distant worlds, beings of all shapes and sizes tuned in to witness humanity's stand against overwhelming odds. Some viewed the conflict with detached curiosity, dismissing Earth as irrelevant. Others saw potential allies, or enemies, in the making. Among those watching closely was Ambassador Silra of the Lumina Accord, a coalition dedicated to fostering peace across the galaxy. Intrigued by humanity's resilience, she authorized reconnaissance missions to gather more information. If Earth proved capable of holding its own, the Accord might consider extending an olive branch. For now, though, Earth stood alone, united, in its struggle for survival. Beneath the shadow of alien warships, ordinary people transformed into extraordinary heroes. Scientists, soldiers, hackers, all played their part in resisting the invasion. And as the battle raged on, one truth became undeniable. Humanity was far from defeated. "What have we done?" Kyle whispered, staring at the holographic image of Earth spinning silently in the void. For the first time, he wondered if conquering such a world was worth the cost. The invasion had dragged on longer than anyone, least of all Cale Vorn, had anticipated. What was supposed to be a swift and decisive conquest had devolved into a protracted struggle, with humanity refusing to bow despite the odds stacked heavily against them. Earth's cities lay in ruins, its skies scorched by alien fire, yet beneath the rubble a spark of defiance burned brighter than ever. Cale paced the bridge of his flagship, the Iron Reaver, his sharp features etched with frustration. The holographic display before him showed real-time updates from the battlefield. Pockets of resistance flaring up across continents, human forces striking unexpectedly and retreating just as quickly. It was maddening. His fleet, once invincible, now found itself bogged down in skirmishes that should have been over in hours, not weeks. "They're scavenging our tech," Jax reported grimly, pointing to an analysis of recent engagements. "They've reverse-engineered parts from our downed ships. Their weapons are becoming more effective." Kale's jaw tightened. Impossible, he growled, though deep down he knew it wasn't. Humans were proving resourceful beyond measure. Every setback only seemed to fuel their determination. Where other species might have crumbled under similar pressure, humanity adapted, innovated, and fought back harder. On Earth, the tide was beginning to turn, not through sheer numbers or superior firepower, but through ingenuity and unity. In a secure underground bunker near what remained of Washington, D.C., Elena Morales worked tirelessly alongside Marcus Kane and Zoe Chen. Together, they formed the core of the newly established Earth Defense Alliance, EDA, a coalition of scientists, soldiers, hackers, and civilians united under one banner: for Earth, for all. Elena's lab buzzed with activity as teams of engineers dissected salvaged alien components. She marveled at the technology: energy cores capable of sustaining immense power output, alloys stronger than anything humanity had developed, and propulsion systems that defied conventional physics. But she didn't marvel for long. Every discovery fueled new ideas. "Zoe," Elena called out, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. "Did you manage to crack the encryption on those targeting algorithms?" Zoe glanced up from her workstation, her fingers still dancing across the keyboard. "Almost there," she replied, her youthful face lit by the glow of multiple monitors. "Give me 5 minutes." Marcus entered the room, his combat fatigue smeared with soot and dirt. He carried a piece of alien weaponry slung over his shoulder, AI prototype plasma rifle they'd recovered during a raid. "This thing packs a punch," he said, setting it down on the workbench with a thud. "If we can mass-produce these, we'll even the playing field." Elena nodded, already envisioning how to replicate the weapon's design. "We need factories, resources, manpower, and time," she added quietly. Time was something they didn't have much of. As the days turned into weeks, the EDA began implementing its countermeasures. Guerrilla tactics evolved into coordinated assaults. Scavenged alien tech was repurposed into devastating tools of war. One such innovation came in the form of EMP grenades, designed to disable enemy drones and disrupt communication networks. Another breakthrough involved modifying captured alien energy shields to protect key installations. The turning point came when the EDA launched a daring operation codenamed Operation Skyfall. Using stolen schematics provided by Zoe, they identified and infiltrated one of the Marauder Syndicate's orbital supply depots. The mission was risky, suicidal, some argued, but Marcus insisted it was worth the gamble. Under cover of darkness, a team of elite operatives boarded shuttles disguised as debris. They approached the depot undetected, thanks to Zoe's hacking skills disabling surveillance systems. Once inside, they planted explosives strategically throughout the facility. When the charges detonated, the resulting explosion crippled the depot, cutting off vital supplies to Kale's ground forces. News of the successful strike spread like wildfire. Morale soared among Earth's defenders, while panic rippled through the ranks of the invaders. For the first time, humanity tasted victory, and it was intoxicating. Meanwhile, word of Earth's resilience reached the far corners of the galaxy. Alien races who had dismissed humans as insignificant primitives now watched with growing unease. On Zorath 7, the Galactic Council reconvened to discuss the escalating conflict. "This is unprecedented," Ambassador Lyrath remarked, her melodic voice tinged with concern. "No species has ever resisted the Marauder Syndicate so effectively. If Earth continues to adapt at this rate, they'll become a threat to us all," Thalok interjected, his reptilian eyes gleaming. "Kale's arrogance has awakened a sleeping giant." Silra of the Lumina Accord listened intently, her luminous form shimmering faintly in the dim light. She had dispatched reconnaissance vessels to observe the situation firsthand, and their reports confirmed the Council's fears. Humanity was unlike any species they had encountered before. Their capacity for innovation, coupled with their indomitable spirit, made them both admirable and dangerous. "We must intervene," Silra declared, "not to aid the invaders, but to ensure Earth's survival. If left unchecked, this conflict could destabilize the entire sector." Her proposal sparked heated debate. Some factions feared aligning with humans would invite retaliation from the Marauder Syndicate. Others saw an opportunity to forge alliances with a rising power. Ultimately, the decision was left to individual governments, though many, secretly, prepared contingency plans. Back on Earth, the global response to the invasion continued to evolve. Nations that had once been divided by politics and ideology now stood shoulder to shoulder, pooling resources and sharing intelligence. Refugees fleeing devastated cities found sanctuary in rural communities, where makeshift armories and training camps sprang up overnight. In New York City, which remained partially occupied by alien forces, resistance cells operated in the shadows. Civilians risked their lives to smuggle food, medicine, and information to fighters hiding in subway tunnels and abandoned buildings. Street art depicting defiant messages, "We are still here," and "United we stand," covered walls, and billboards, symbols of hope amid despair. Even children played a role, organizing supply runs and spreading propaganda via social media. A viral video of a young boy using a jury-rigged drone to take down an alien patrol went viral, inspiring millions worldwide. Humanity's fight became personal, intimate, a shared struggle against a common enemy. Despite their successes, tensions within the EDA began to surface. Arguments erupted over strategy, resource allocation, and whether to trust the mysterious envoy from the Lumina Accord who had arrived offering assistance. The envoy, a serene being named Arin, claimed to represent a peaceful faction eager to help humanity rebuild. But not everyone believed her intentions were pure. "We don't know what strings come attached to their help," Marcus argued during a heated meeting. "Once we accept their aid, we owe them. Is that really freedom?" "It's survival," Elena countered, her tone firm. "Without their technology and expertise, we won't last another month. We're running out of options." Zoe remained silent, her gaze fixed on Aaron. Something about the envoy unsettled her, an instinctive distrust she couldn't quite explain. Still, she understood the stakes. If rejecting the Lumina Accord meant certain defeat, then accepting their offer might be the lesser of two evils. The climactic moment came when Cale Vorn, desperate to regain control, ordered a massive assault on EDA headquarters. Waves of alien troops descended upon the fortified compound, determined to crush humanity's leadership once and for all. Inside, Marcus led the defense, rallying soldiers and civilians alike. "Hold the line," he shouted, firing a modified plasma rifle. Explosions rocked the perimeter as defenders fought valiantly to repel the invaders. Elena coordinated evacuations, ensuring non-combatants escaped through hidden tunnels. Zoe hacked into enemy systems, creating diversions and shutting down critical functions. Just when it seemed the compound would fall, reinforcements arrived, courtesy of the Lumina Accord. Sleek starships descended from the sky, unleashing barrages of precision firepower that decimated the attacking force. Cale watched in disbelief as his troops retreated, beaten and humiliated. That night, as fires smoldered and survivors tended to the wounded, Cale sat alone in his quarters aboard the Iron Reaver. He stared at the hologram of Earth spinning silently in the void, his mind racing with doubts. Had he underestimated humanity? Overestimated himself? "What have I done?" he whispered, his voice barely audible. For the first time, he wondered if conquering Earth was worth the cost, not just to his reputation but to the galaxy itself. The aftermath of the failed assault on EDA headquarters marked a turning point in the war. Cale Vorn's once unstoppable fleet was now reeling from losses it could no longer afford to sustain. The alien invaders, who had entered Earth's atmosphere, with arrogance and certainty, found themselves bogged down in a brutal conflict against a species that refused to yield. Humanity's resilience had become legendary, not just on Earth, but across the galaxy. For Cale, the pressure mounted. His reputation as a cunning tactician and ruthless leader was crumbling faster than his forces. Back aboard the Iron Reaver, he convened an emergency meeting with his top commanders. The holographic display flickered to life, showing maps of Earth's surface dotted with red zones indicating areas still under Marauder control. Those red zones were shrinking by the day. "We can't keep bleeding like this," Jack said bluntly, his wiry frame tense as he paced the room. "Every skirmish costs us ships, troops, resources. At this rate, we'll be out of fuel in less than 2 months. Kyle clenched his fists, his sharp features contorted in frustration. "I didn't come this far to retreat," he snapped. "We need reinforcements, allies. Anyone willing to help finish what we started." Jax hesitated before responding. "You're talking about calling in favors from some unsavory characters. Pirates, mercenaries, even exiled military units. Are you sure that's wise?" "It's necessary," Cale growled, his voice low and dangerous. "If we don't end this now, humanity will only get stronger. They've already proven they can adapt faster than any species I've ever seen. If we let them catch their breath..." He didn't need to finish the sentence. Everyone in the room understood the stakes. Failure wasn't just a blow to Cale's ego. It was a death knell for the Marauder Syndicate's dominance in the galaxy. Meanwhile, humanity's newfound alliance with the Lumina Accord began to bear fruit. Ambassador Aaron and her team worked tirelessly alongside Elena Morales, Marcus Kane, and Zoe Chen to integrate advanced alien technology into Earth's defenses. Factories repurposed to produce plasma rifles, energy shields, and modular spacecraft capable of rivaling the invaders' own vessels. For the first time since the invasion began, Earth's defenders felt a glimmer of hope, but the alliance came at a cost. Rumors circulated among the EDA leadership about the Accord's true motives. Some feared that accepting aid from such a powerful galactic entity would make Earth little more than a client state, beholden to their benefactors. Others argued that survival trumped sovereignty. If humanity couldn't win the war, independence meant nothing. Elena wrestled with these concerns as she oversaw production lines churning out weapons and equipment. She trusted Aaron, or at least wanted to believe her promises of mutual cooperation. But late at night, when the hum of machinery faded and silence enveloped the bunker, doubt crept in. Was humanity trading one form of oppression for another? Marcus voiced similar fears during strategy sessions. "These people saved our asses back there," he admitted, gesturing toward a map detailing the recent battle. "But how long until they start making demands? Once we're dependent on their tech, what happens if they pull the plug?" Zoe, ever pragmatic, offered a counterpoint. "We don't have a choice right now," she said firmly, her youthful face illuminated by the glow of multiple monitors. "Without them, we're dead. And trust me, I've been digging into their systems. Aaron seems legit. For now." Her words carried weight, but they did little to quell the unease simmering beneath the surface. As tensions brewed within the EDA, Cale Vorn scrambled to assemble his reinforcements. Across the galaxy, he reached out to old contacts and former enemies, offering credits, territory, and promises of future spoils in exchange for their support. Slowly but surely, a coalition began to take shape, a motley crew of mercenaries, rogue factions, and disgraced commanders united by greed and desperation. Among them was Captain Renock, a hulking brute with a cybernetic arm and a penchant for violence. Once a decorated officer in the Drakkar Dominion's navy, he had been exiled after staging an unauthorized coup. Now, he commanded a fleet of scavenged warships, each bearing scars from battles fought and won through sheer brutality. "I hear your reputation's taking a hit," Renock sneered during a comlink with Cale. His voice was gravelly, laced with mockery. "Thought you said Earth would be easy pickings, and it will be," Cale replied, forcing calm into his tone. "But their resistance has been unexpected. With your help, we can crush them once and for all." Renock chuckled darkly. "Fine. You pay my price and I'll bring my boys along. For the ride. Just don't expect me to clean up your mess afterward." By the time the reinforcements arrived, Cale's fleet had swelled to twice its original size. Dozens of ships filled the skies above Earth, their engines casting eerie shadows over the planet below. The final assault was imminent. On Earth, preparations for the climactic battle were underway. Under Elena's supervision, engineers completed construction of a secret weapon, a massive energy pulse generator capable of disabling enemy ships en masse. Powered by reverse-engineered alien tech, the device represented humanity's last best hope of turning the tide. "We call it Project Eclipse," Elena explained during a briefing with Marcus and Zoe. A holographic projection hovered between them, displaying schematics of the weapon. When activated, it emits a concentrated burst of electromagnetic energy that disrupts power systems within a wide radius. "It'll buy us time, but not without consequences." "What kind of consequences?" Marcus asked, his brow furrowed. "It drains our remaining power reserves," Elena admitted reluctantly. "Once we use it, we won't be able to maintain our defenses for long. If the aliens regroup too quickly, we're screwed." Zoe leaned forward, her expression intense. "Then we'd better make sure they don't regroup," she said firmly. "I'll hack into their comms and sow chaos while the pulse hits. With any luck, they'll tear each other apart trying to figure out what's going on." Marcus nodded grimly. "It's risky, but it's our only shot. Let's do it." The final battle erupted with unparalleled ferocity. Alien fleets descended upon Earth in waves, determined to annihilate the human resistance once and for all. Cities burned as plasma beams rained down from orbit, obliterating everything in their path. Yet amidst the devastation, humanity fought back with every ounce of strength they had left. From hidden bunkers deep underground, Zoe unleashed a barrage of digital attacks, infiltrating enemy networks and causing widespread confusion. Ships collided mid-flight as automated systems malfunctioned. Ground troops fired blindly at phantom targets created by her hacks. Meanwhile, Marcus led squads of soldiers in daring hit-and-run operations, striking key enemy positions and retreating before reinforcements could arrive. When the moment came, Elena activated Project Eclipse. The sky lit up with a blinding flash as the energy pulse surged outward, engulfing alien vessels in a cascade of sparks and static. One by one, their engines sputtered and died, sending them plummeting toward Earth's surface. Cheers erupted among the defenders as the invaders' advance faltered, but victory came at a cost. As predicted, the pulse drained Earth's remaining power reserves, leaving critical infrastructure vulnerable. Emergency generators powered makeshift defenses, but everyone knew it was only a matter of time before the aliens adapted and struck back. Amid the chaos, Cale Vorn watched in stunned silence as his fleet disintegrated around him. Ships exploded, in fiery bursts, their crews screaming into the void as they plummeted to their doom. For the first time, he felt something he hadn't allowed himself to feel in years. Fear. "This isn't over," he muttered, gripping the edge of his command console. "Not yet." Jax approached cautiously, his expression grim. "Sir, we've lost nearly half our forces. Even with Rhinox reinforcements, we can't hold out much longer." "Then we retreat," Kyle snapped, his voice cold and calculating. "Regroup, reassess. Humanity may have won this round, but they haven't seen the last of us." As he issued orders to withdraw, Cale glanced at the hologram of Earth spinning silently in the void. Its blue-green surface shimmered faintly, a stark contrast to the destruction wrought upon it. Despite everything humanity endured, a testament to their ingenuity, unity, and unyielding spirit. "What are they?" Kyle whispered to himself, his gaze fixed on the resilient world below. "What have I unleashed?" Little did he know the galaxy was asking the same question. The aftermath of Project Eclipse left Earth scarred but victorious. The skies, once filled with the ominous hum of alien warships, now carried only the quiet whispers of wind sweeping through the ruins. Humanity had paid a heavy price for its triumph. Cities reduced to rubble, millions displaced or dead, but the collective spirit of defiance remained unbroken. In bunkers and makeshift shelters, survivors gathered around radios and screens, listening to broadcasts from leaders who spoke not just of survival but of hope. Elena Morales stood at the edge of a crater where one of the downed alien ships had crashed. Her lab coat was tattered, her face streaked with soot, but her eyes burned with determination. She held a fragment of alien alloy in her hand, studying it under the dim light of a portable lantern. Around her, Engineers worked tirelessly to salvage what they could from the wreckage, piecing together new technologies that would help rebuild their shattered world. "We've proven we can fight," Elena said aloud, though no one else was near enough to hear her. "Now we have to prove we can heal." Marcus Kane walked among the ruins of New York City, his boots crunching over broken glass and twisted metal. The streets were eerily silent, save for the distant sound of hammers and drills as volunteers worked to clear debris and construct temporary housing. He paused before a mural painted on the side of a crumbling building, a phoenix rising from flames surrounded by the words, "For Earth, for all." "Never thought I'd see the day when graffiti gave me chills," Marcus muttered, a faint smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. Despite everything he had witnessed, the loss, the pain, the sheer brutality of war, he couldn't deny the pride swelling in his chest. Humanity hadn't just survived, it had thrived under pressure. Nearby, a group of children played amidst the rubble, using scraps of alien tech as props in an impromptu game of make-believe. One boy wielded a piece of bent metal like a sword, shouting orders to his imaginary squadron. Marcus chuckled softly. These kids didn't know fear anymore. They knew resilience. And someday, they'd grow up telling stories about how their parents and grandparents stood against impossible odds. Zoe Chen sat cross-legged in front of her computer setup, her fingers flying across the keyboard as she analyzed data streams from the remaining alien networks. Though most of the invaders had retreated, some residual systems remained active, transmitting signals into deep space. Zoe was determined to uncover their purpose and ensure humanity wasn't caught off guard again. Her screen flickered with lines of code, interspersed with fragments of intercepted communications. Most were garbled, but one message stood out, a transmission addressed to Cale Vorn, urging him to regroup and prepare for Phase 2. Zoe's heart sank. It seemed Earth's reprieve might be short-lived. She reached for her headset and patched into a secure line connecting her to Elena and Marcus. "Guys, bad news," she began, her voice steady despite the knot forming in her stomach. "Cale's still out there, and whatever he's planning next, and it's big." Elena sighed heavily. "We knew this wasn't over," she said, her tone pragmatic yet tinged with exhaustion. "But we've got time. That's more than we had before." "Yeah," Marcus added, his voice firm, "and this time we're ready for him." In the weeks that followed, Earth's recovery efforts gained momentum. With assistance from the Lumina Accord, reconstruction projects sprang up across the globe. Advanced medical facilities treated wounded civilians and soldiers alike, while agricultural initiatives restored food supplies to devastated regions. Schools reopened in tents and repurposed buildings, ensuring that even the youngest generation wouldn't lose sight of the future. Ambassador Aaron remained on Earth, overseeing the Accord's contributions and acting as a liaison between humanity and the galactic community. While skepticism lingered among some factions within the EDA, Aaron's actions spoke louder than words. She brokered deals to provide Earth with sustainable energy solutions, shared knowledge of interstellar diplomacy, and even helped establish a formal governing body to represent humanity's interests in the galaxy. "You've earned your place among the stars," Aaron told Elena during a private meeting. "But remember, power comes with responsibility. How you choose to wield it will define your legacy." Elena nodded, absorbing the weight of those words. Humanity's newfound prominence in the galactic arena was both a blessing and a burden. For centuries, Earth had been isolated, unaware of the vast civilizations beyond its atmosphere. Now it found itself thrust into a complex web of alliances, rivalries, and politics. The choices made today would shape not only Earth's future, but also the fate of countless other worlds. Meanwhile, Cale Vorn plotted his next move from the shadows. His battered fleet regrouped in a remote sector of the galaxy, far from prying eyes. As he stared at holographic projections of Earth, his mind churned with conflicting emotions. Anger, frustration, admiration, all swirled together, creating a storm of doubt and resolve. "You underestimated them," Jax remarked cautiously, standing beside him. "No shame in that. Few could have predicted how far they'd come." It's not shame I feel, Kyle replied, his voice low and bitter. It's regret. Regret that I ever set foot on that planet. Look at what they've done. They've united themselves, inspired others, turned my failure into a rallying cry. What happens if every species starts seeing them as a beacon of resistance? Jax hesitated before responding. Then maybe it's time to reconsider our approach. Maybe conquest isn't the answer anymore. Kyle shot him a sharp glance, his expression unreadable. Conquest is all I know, he said finally. But perhaps there are other ways to achieve greatness. Months later, representatives from across the galaxy convened on Zorath 7 for a historic summit. Humanity, represented by Elena, Marcus, and Zoe, took its place among the delegates, earning both admiration and wary glances. The discussions were tense, with many species questioning whether Earth's rapid rise posed a threat to galactic stability. Others argued that humanity's ingenuity and adaptability made them valuable allies. As the summit drew to a close, Silra of the Lumina Accord addressed the assembly. Earth has shown us something remarkable, she declared, her luminous form casting a soft glow over the chamber. A species capable of overcoming adversity, of forging unity in the face of division, of rising above its limitations. They remind us of what we can achieve when we stand together, not as conquerors, but as collaborators. Applause rippled through the room, though not everyone joined in. Some factions remained cautious, watching humanity closely to gauge its intentions. But for the first time, Earth was no longer an outsider. It was part of something greater. Years passed, and Earth continued to rebuild. Cities rose anew, blending human ingenuity with alien technology. Skyscrapers gleamed with energy-efficient panels, powered by fusion reactors adapted from reverse-engineered designs. Spaceports dotted the globe, launching vessels destined for exploration missions and diplomatic envoys. Elena, Marcus, and Zoe remained at the forefront of humanity's evolution. Elena spearheaded scientific advancements, pushing boundaries once thought impossible. Marcus became a symbol of strength and sacrifice, training new generations of defenders while advocating for peace. Zoe, now a renowned hacker and cybersecurity expert, ensured that humanity's digital infrastructure remained secure against potential threats. One evening, as the trio stood atop a hill overlooking a bustling metropolis bathed in twilight, they reflected on how far they'd come. The scars of war still lingered, but so did the lessons learned. We did it, Marcus said quietly, breaking the silence. Against all odds, we did it. Not alone, Elena corrected, smiling faintly. We had each other, and the rest of the world. And the galaxy, Zoe added, gesturing toward the stars twinkling overhead. Whether they admit it or not, they're rooting for us now. Far away, in a distant corner of the galaxy, Cale Vorn gazed at those same stars. His fleet lay dormant, his ambitions tempered by the memory of Earth's defiance. For the first time in his life, he felt uncertain about the path ahead. Yet amid the uncertainty, a spark of curiosity ignited within him. What are they? He whispered, to himself, echoing the question that had haunted him since the invasion. What will they become? Only time would tell.